Act as a world-class marketing strategist with 20 years of experience. That prompt is still being shared on LinkedIn right now, in courses, in $97 prompt packs, probably somewhere in your inbox. There's just one problem. A meta-analysis of over 1,500 prompting research papers found it produces accuracy improvements of roughly 0.01%. That's not a rounding there. It does nothing to use that sort of prompt. The AI tools changed. The models got dramatically better. The advice didn't catch up. In this video, I'm going to show you what actually works in April 2026. This is based on research, not recycled LinkedIn tips, and based on building AI into a real marketing workflow, not just playing around with it. By the end, you'll have an updated framework, 4 techniques backed by real data, and 3 workflows you can run this week with no technical setup. Just a quick intro. My name is Cameron Cornick. I've got 15 years plus marketing experience in marketing operations, digital marketing, demand generation, mostly in startup and B2B SaaS. I've been building AI into actual marketing workflows, not proof of concepts, not demos, real production systems that ship content, process leads, and run autonomously. Still with human in the loop though. If that's the kind of thing you care about, subscribe. I'm going to start posting this sort of stuff regularly. Now let's start at the beginning because most people skip a step and that costs them every time. I say this from experience. Before you write a single prompt, you need to ask, am I even using the right tool for the job? Most people default to one platform out of habit. I've certainly been there myself. They open ChatGPT first, so everything goes through ChatGPT. Or they're on Claude because someone told them it's better for writing. Forcing one tool to do everything is like using the CRM as a project manager. Technically possible, wildly inefficient. Here's how to think about it in 2026. ChatGPT, GPT 5.4, is the workhorse for drafting, coding, brainstorming, and automations. Strong all around, great voice mode. Claude using Opus 4.6 or Sonnet 4.6. This is where you're going to send anything long, nuanced. If it needs to sound like a human wrote it, this is where you're going to do it. Long document analysis, complex reasoning, persistent projects through skills and co-work, that's where Claude is going to be in charge. Perplexity is a research engine, not a writing engine. If you need current information with sources you can actually verify rather than hallucinations, Perplexity. Don't ask it to write the post though. Gemini is where you go if you love Google Workspace. Mixed media inputs including video, audio, images, all search adjacent. If you live in Google Docs and Google Sheets, Gemini makes sense there. So the decision is pretty simple. What am I trying to accomplish? And then pick the tool for the job. I'll give you a real example. I lose about 10 hours a week to driving. It's dead time to me. Can't get anything done. A lot of people try to chain together transcription apps to capture thoughts on the go. They'll use Whisper or other third-party tools, duct tape workflows, and what actually worked for me was a gem in Gemini and the app's built-in speech mode, two-way communications, two-way speech, no extra tools, no extra setup time. I picked the right tool for the right constraint. At one point, I was stuck in ChatGPT. That's what my company had, so that's what I was using. I did that for like 6 months before I really got to dive into the others. If at all possible, experiment and experience all the different tools available to you. One of the single biggest productivity gains that a lot of people are leaving on the table because they're just using chat prompts is the persistent workspace. Every major AI platform now supports it. Claude calls them projects with skills and co-work on the desktop app. Gemini calls them gems. ChatGPT has custom GPTs and its projects feature. Different names, same concept. Define who you are, set up those instructions, what you're working on, how you want the AI to behave. Do it in the beginning. You may need to update now and again. That's a pro tip. Don't forget to go back and update and evaluate on a regular basis. But every conversation inside that workspace now inherits those rules and instructions automatically. Think of it like onboarding a new hire. You wouldn't drop someone into a meeting with zero context and expect great output. But that's exactly what you're doing when you open a brand new chat window and just start typing. Every new chat session starts from zero. You re-explain your role, your tone, your constraints. Then you wonder why the output is garbled and generic. The setup takes 10 minutes. Create a workspace for a recurring task. Content creation, client research, reporting, whatever you do regularly, weekly. Add a short instruction set, who you are, what good output looks like, tone, what to avoid, then upload reference documents, style guides, past examples, brand guides. Start every conversation for that task there instead of the main window. When I started building out my own persistent workspaces, 3 things changed immediately. My prompts were shorter because I stopped re-explaining context. I made fewer corrections because the AI already knew my standards, and I stopped manually pointing at reference documents every session. If you do one thing after watching this video, go set up your workspace. Okay, let's talk about the framework itself. And this is where I'm going to tell you to throw out advice you've been hearing for the past 2 years. It's outdated, it's old, it's no good anymore. The old formula was role, goal, context, format. You are a senior content strategist. Write me a blog outline about X. Keep it under 500 words. Use bullet points. Yeah, I used those back in the day. That worked okay when the models needed more scaffolding. The problem is that role was doing almost nothing useful. It was adding tokens without adding precision. The field has moved from social prompting, personas, and flattery to structured communication. Here's the updated framework. First, goal. Start with a clear, outcome-focused sentence. What do you want? My goal is to turn my research notes into a 5-step email nurture plan. That's it. Lead with the outcome. Second, context. Only what genuinely shapes the output. Who's the audience? What are the constraints? What inputs are you working from? Audience is HR managers at mid-market firms. The deal size is 20 to 50K. Sales cycle 60 to 90 days. These leads downloaded a resource but haven't booked a demo. Third, structure. How should the answer be organized? Steps, sections, tables, criteria. Give me a numbered outline, then a table with step number, subject line, main message, and CTA. Fourth, perspective. And this one, it's optional, right? A short specific role line only when it changes what good looks like. Review this from a CFO's perspective before an exec meeting. One line, no backstory, not a character, not a full persona. Notice what's different. The role dropped from mandatory to optional. Context does what the role was trying to do, and more precisely with fewer wasted tokens. Let me show you the before and after because this is where it clicks. You're a world-class email marketing expert with 15 years of experience in B2B SaaS. You have deep knowledge of nurture sequences and conversion optimization. Write me an email nurture sequence. Oof, that hurt a little bit inside. Now, my goal is to create a 5 email nurture sequence for HR buyers, mid-market companies, 500 to 2,000 employees. These contacts downloaded our compliance checklist but haven't booked a demo. Average deal size is 35K. Sales cycle is 60 to 90 days. Plain language, no jargon, each email under 150 words. Subject lines under 50 characters. Give me a table with email number, timing, subject line, core message, and CTA. Then write the full copy for each email below the table. Same task, completely different output. The second prompt gives the model everything it needs. Specific context beats generic personas every time. Beyond the base framework, there are 4 techniques that consistently outperform generic approaches. This is true in research and in real-world use. These aren't tips I found on LinkedIn. They're grounded in actual studies. Instead of describing what you want, show examples of it. Telling the model, write email subject lines like an expert marketer, gives it a vague target. Pasting 5 subject lines that have actually performed well, then saying write 10 more in my style for product launch, That gives it a pattern to match. Language models are pattern recognition engines. They match structure, tone, and reasoning from examples more precisely than from abstract descriptions. Use this every time you care about a tight format and control or domain-specific output. Complex requests produce mediocre output. Smaller, focused requests produce more precise output. Instead of write me a complete content strategy for Q3, I have seen someone do this, try this instead. First, list 5 topics my audience is most likely searching for based on these inputs. Then, for the top 3, outline a blog post structure. Then, write the introduction for the highest priority one. Each step has one objective. Errors are localized before they cascade. A decomposition variant called least to most prompting achieved 99.9% accuracy on the compositional reasoning benchmark. That's compared to the 16.2% for the standard chain of thought. The gap is not small. Use this for anything more than 2 or 3 distinct components. Ask it to check its own work. After getting the first draft, add one more prompt. Review your response against these criteria: clarity, accuracy, appropriate tone for a B2B audience, identify gaps or weaknesses, then rewrite with those improvements. The more precise you can get it here to tell what not to do and what good looks like, the better it's going to be. This uses the model's evaluation capability in a second pass. First draft introduces errors, critique catches them. Models can be overconfident in their work. Use specific yes-no rubrics for high-stakes stuff. Does this contain at least one concrete example? Yes or no? Vague, open-ended review this prompts can miss things a cold first pass got wrong confidently. This is essentially a free editing pass on anything that matters. This is the default approach. Instead of implied identity, you give the model direct situational information: who the audience is, what the output will be used for, what constraints apply, and what good looks like. And crucially, what not to do. What not to do is almost as important, maybe more, as asking it to do something. Negative constraints are more effective than positive ones for controlling style. Don't use corporate jargon works better than use plain language. Give it a try. You might be surprised. Every other technique layers on top of this one. Now, this one's quick, but important, because the advice has been applied universally where it shouldn't be. In June 2025, study from Wharton's Generative AI Lab tested chain of thought prompting across 8 models on PhD level questions. On older, non-reasoning models, chain of thought still helps. Accuracy improvements of 11 to 14%. On current reasoning tier models, GPT 5.4, Opus 4.6, Gemini 3.1 Pro, these gains dropped 2 to 3%. In one case, accuracy actually decreased. These models reason internally. Prompting them to do it out loud adds overhead without any benefit. The decision is simple. Using a reasoning tier model on a paid plan, skip think step by step for most tasks. Heck, if you're working something like Claude Code, there's a planned mode specifically built for this. Instead, save it for the multi-step logic, math, code, debugging, complex business rules with edge cases. Now, if you're using a free tier or lightweight model, chain of thought is probably still the way you want to go. Prompting techniques are tools, and they've got to match the model. AI conversations degrade over time. The longer a chat runs, the more the model's attention to your early instructions fade. This is called context stripped. Your AI assistant starts ignoring your formatting rules on message 30 or forgets the constraint you said in message 3. You know it's happening when the output starts looking generic again, or like it forgot what you told it to do in the first place. There are 4 habits that can help prevent this. 1. One purpose per thread. Each conversation gets a clear theme. When the topic genuinely changes, start a new chat. 2. State your goal at the start. My goal for this conversation is to produce a finished blog post outlined with SEO metadata. When drift happens, restate it. 3. Iterate, don't restart. Ask for a draft, react with specific direction, ask for revisions. Make it shorter. Add a concrete example for point 2. This is too formal. Only start a fresh chat when the topic genuinely changes. Restarting because the first output wasn't perfect is wasting accumulated context. Context is king here. Now, when you're done and ready to go over to a new task, if it's related at the end of a useful conversation, extract the value. Summarize our conversation into a brief I can paste into a new chat. This handoff prompt lets you resume a fresh session without losing key decisions you've already made. I learned this the hard way. Early on, I'd let conversations run long and the AI would eventually go sideways. There's no undo button when that happens. Keeping threads tighter and shorter fixed it. Let's talk about the 3 workflows you can use this week. Workflow number 1, research, draft, refine. Perplexity for sources and stats. Everything is citable and verifiable. ChatGPT to turn those notes into an outline and first draft. Claude for the final pass. Clarity, structure, tone. That's the sequence I use most for my long form content. Workflow number 2, meeting, insight, action. Upload a transcript or rough notes to Claude or ChatGPT. Ask a decision summary, action items and owners, and a follow-up email draft. If anything needs external fact-checking, run it through Perplexity before it goes out. Workflow number 3, personal productivity copilot. Capture voice notes or bullet points. Let AI turn them into tasks, a schedule, or a structured plan. Here are my deadlines and meetings for the week. Build me a realistic daily plan with buffer time. Draft standard replies for common emails. Give it a good example to go off of, and ask for a reusable template. These are manual right now, but they're the foundation for automation. All 4 major platforms are building agentic capabilities. Claude has Cowork and Code and computer use. ChatGPT has Operator. Gemini has Opal. Start with the manual version. Understand how the workflow works. Then automate the parts that are repetitive and you're comfortable in doing so. So 7 mistakes that are holding you back. Let me run through the 7 mistakes quickly. These are patterns I see most often from people who've been using AI for a year and are still frustrated with the output. Number 1, using the default chat window for everything. Nobody told you projects and workspaces exist. Fix it. Set one up this week. Number 2, generic act as a world-class whatever prompts. The advice is everywhere and it sounds logical. It's not anymore. Fix it. Goal, then context, structure, examples. Number 3, asking output with no structure. You're expecting the AI to infer too much. How do you fix it? Give it a brief. Audience, format, constraints, an example of good. Number 5, restarting chats when output isn't right. A fresh start isn't always the answer. You're throwing away the accumulated context. I understand sometimes it needs done, but consider compact the conversation and giving it revision direction. Number 6, never checking facts. Overconfidence after a few good experience. Verify any external facing claims with Perplexity or another source tool, always. Number 7, using think through step by step on every prompt. Hey, it was great advice back in 2023, even 2024, and most of 2025. But this gets applied universally to today. Don't do that. Instead, reserve think step by step for actual legit multi-step reasoning or non-reasoning models. So if I had to compact everything that we've talked about here down to 5 simple bullet points, here they are. Number 1, set up a workspace and stop starting from 0 at each session. Number 2, lead with what you need, not who the AI should pretend to be. Goal first, then context, then structure. Number 3, show examples of explaining. If you can paste what good looks like, do it. Iterate on drafts instead of restarting. That's number 4. The conversation is the context. Don't throw it away because you're frustrated. Number 5, match the tool to the task. Research in Perplexity, draft in ChatGPT, refine in Claude, work in Google Workspace with Gemini. That's it. That's really 5 key takeaways. Now, I do have a blog that goes into some of these things a little bit more in depth. The full written guide is over on cameronkornick.com. Covers everything we talked to here, plus the research citations. Hey, if it was useful, go ahead and give me a like, give me a subscribe, leave some comments down there. All that stuff helps, or so they tell me. I cover marketing and operations, AI and real workflows, and the stuff that actually works, not the stuff that people are trying to sell you a course for. What's one of the prompting mistakes you see that I didn't list here? I'm genuinely curious. Hey, thanks again for watching, and until I see you again, remember to be well, be safe, and be awesome, both to yourself and one another.